This episode sounds different, and that's because it's not just any guest. Our guest is Mark Friedlich. Now, Mark shares his story of success growing up in a tenement apartment on the Lower East Side of Manhattan to getting to the position that he's in today as Vice President of Government Affairs at a multinational corporation with over 23,000 employees around the world. The original date of recording had to be rescheduled. I said, Mark, what happened? He said, I'm so sorry, I was called to testify in front of a congressional committee. In the middle of the episode, he drops a really surprising story of what he said to former President Bill Clinton. He'll walk us through a couple tips and things that he credits for his success. You'll hear that he has a pretty strong stutter. There's more stuttering in this episode than almost any other episode in our podcast, but there's more wisdom and insight to take away from this episode than almost any other. As much as the stutter sounds really big to us, Mark says he never saw it as a speech impediment. He'll share with us the power of preparation, the importance of being memorable, and the muscle you build when you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, and so much more. My favorite quote from the episode is, "The fear stays, but it no longer decides where we go." I hope you'll enjoy this episode as much as I enjoyed my conversation with Mark Friedlich.
Well, it's great to see you, Mark. Thanks for coming.
I appreciate your having me. I've watched just most of your podcasts. They're extremely impressive and educational.
Is there a favorite that stands out?
Inspirational.
Inspirational. I would say those are my aspirations. That it should be informational, entertaining, and inspiring. And
entertaining as well, by the way.
Thank you. Well, today's going to be another great one. I'm looking forward. We had to reschedule because, unfortunately, you had to testify in front of a congressional hearing. They weren't grilling you, but you were.
Well, they always grill me, but in a friendly way.
Well, we'll get to that, but just to speak to who you are and what circles you travel in, that was the reason you had to cancel. It was an acceptable cancellation. So today is...
I appreciate your flexibility, and I had the privilege of meeting people here. So we've had a wonderful conversation.
Oh, we're going to definitely give a shout out to Jordan and Jen, and their link will be in the footnotes.
They rule.
Show notes, yeah.
They know my life's story at this point.
Where do you think I learned how to do the interviewing? So I had a cool story getting here that I thought I should tell you. I told you I was running later than I expected. I woke up this morning, and I'm actually driving a rental car, and it's a Tesla. And you think, like, okay, as long as the battery is full, what could go wrong? What could go wrong? Well, a lot of things can go wrong. And the question is, like, you don't control the circumstances. You only control how you respond, right?
Absolutely right.
So I had a wrench in my day when I found out that there was a screw in the tire. The tire pressure was low, and the light goes off on the dash there. And I said, oh, that's weird. But okay, I'll drive down and I'll put some air in the tire. So I drive down to Broadway and a gas station, Gulf Station, and I put some air in the tire. And as I'm putting the air in, I see there's a New York City screw in the tire. And now I say to myself, I can't drive with a screw.
Wow.
All I know is like I'll park somewhere in the wrong angle and it's just going to go total flat.
Right.
So I said, can you change, can you help me plug this hole?
Yeah.
And he says to me in a, he's not a native English speaker, but we managed to get through that. He wanted to help me, but he couldn't. I said, where can I go? He says, maybe. I said, maybe or definitely? He said, no, maybe. I said, maybe? Maybe tire. Maybe tire. I said, no, definitely tire.
You never know.
You never know. So it was a little bit of uncertainty, but again, rolling with the uncertainty.
Right.
So I said, maybe. So I put it into I wrote into the maps, Google Maps. I said, tire. And I see that 2 blocks away, there's a Mavis Tires.
Ooh.
Maybe Tires.
Yes.
So we go to Mavis Tires. I pull up and I said to them, listen, I got this rental car and I have a very important guest. I got to get into the city. Can you help me out here? What can we do? He says, no problem. Give me the information. I said, just tell me what's it going to cost. He says, about $24. I said, $24. You give me the receipt. I'll deal with it later with the rental car company. And if you can get me out quick, great. If it's going to take a long time, that's okay. See what you can do for me. Thank you. So I go, I have a seat. 10 minutes later, he comes in and he says, no problem. We got the screw out, all taken care of. I said, what do I owe you? He says, nothing. Just give the guy a few bucks. I go to pick up the car. The guy that changed the tire pulls up. I'm like, wow, that was amazing. Like,
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be a complete wreck to the day, and I thought it was going to be the second time we'd have to reschedule because I didn't think there was any way I was going to get here on time.
Yeah.
Guy gets out of the car. He has his name on his chest. What's his name?
Yeah.
Angel. Dude, it's a Bronx
Very
tale.
appropriate.
It's a Bronx tale.
Very appropriate.
So, like, I just thought about that, and then driving down, I was thinking, you know, you don't control the circumstances, but you get to control how you respond, and you come up with a response. So I was wondering for you, like, what would you say about that? Because your whole life, maybe just tell us a little bit about what you do. It's really about strategy and thinking about how to navigate, you know, complex problems, being a problem solver. But tell us about what you do professionally. What's your day like?
So I am the vice president of government affairs for a multinational corporation. We're a software company. We serve accountants, attorneys, with government and others in North America and around the world. We're a international company with over 23,000 employees. So I began advising the Senate Finance Committee, the House Ways and Means Committee in Congress, the administrations way back to Bush the first, regardless of party affiliation. I'm on the boards of the IRS, the AICPA, many other associations. I've spoken and I speak at major conferences all around the world, the American Bar Association as well. So I start my day just in preparing. So being as prepared as possible has always been a priority for me, and that's way back when I was in the first grade and the second
I
grade.
want to get to that. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
There's a line I like about preparation that say if you practice like it's game day will be like practice.
Absolutely.
And
right.
I asked you before we started recording, and your response was surprising to me. So I think it might surprise people that if Mark today could talk to Mark 12 years old, would 12-year-old Mark, what would he say about the Mark that you are today and the things that you're involved in and all the public speaking and involved in these levels of corporate culture, of corporate interactions, in your professional association, in government, congressional hearings? What would 12-year-old Mark think of the Mark today?
Yeah, I expected this. What else is new? You know,
so you grew up on the Lower East Side. You told me you grew up on the Lower East Side in a tenement apartment with parents that were Holocaust survivors.
Yep.
You shared a bedroom for much of your childhood. You had one sister.
One sister, yeah.
And so you come from the Lower East Side living in that kind of scarcity, I guess I would say, from a material point of view.
We had nothing. We didn't have a car. I didn't have a bicycle. I didn't have
You even said that you made an effort to buy kosher meats, even
sneakers.
though it was pricier.
So yeah, well, my parents would like kosher meats, deli,
I
and
mean, it wouldn't be the Lower East Side without kosher deli.
right, right. And Katz's was one of our favorite places
Sure.
when it wasn't $40 for
Yeah, that wasn't then.
a pastrami sandwich.
It's rough these days.
So, so
But the curiosity I have is what's the journey? Meaning from that kind of upbringing and growing up with that kind of scarcity and that kind of, and then also I think you stutter. You have a stutter
I guess
sometimes?
Yeah.
Okay, you stutter sometimes.
I don't really think about it,
Okay.
but yeah.
So like, how did you
so
have
I've
that
been
confidence?
told, by the
You've
way.
been told. Someone said,
Occasionally, yeah.
well, I don't mean to, be projecting anything or be forcing anything, but I thought I might have picked it up. I thought I might have.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But even that response is so interesting because to you, it's not front and center.
No.
And I think that that's really interesting and worth exploring. Like, how did you grow up coming from where you came from and that background and that upbringing to have the confidence that you always knew you were going to make it in a big way?
I always wanted to be memorable. I always wanted to be that person that people would remember, whether I was the smartest individual in the room, whether I was the best dressed person
We like the fit.
in the room, the fittest. I wanted, when I walked in the room, I always wanted to own the room. And it's funny because I had this conversation with Bill Clinton in the White House, when he was the president, obviously. And I would say to him, one of the most impressive things about you is that wherever you appear, one-on-one or in a group setting, you own the room. You're the focus of attention, not only because you're smart, but also because you're welcoming, you're warm, it's easy to be around you. And for me, when I was a young boy, I always wanted to be the individual with my hand up in the classroom, answering teachers' questions. I never thought of, the possibility of having a speech issue. It never entered my mind, but I knew the answer, and I was anxious to be the first person, as I mentioned, with my hand up. And I think a lot of that is around preparation, always focused on just being prepared and visualizing the way that I would react. And you had made the comment earlier, we can't control most situations. The only thing we are able to control is how we react. And I've always had a smile on my face, no matter the situation. When I was yesterday, being questioned by many of the Congress people on the committee, on the subcommittee that was before. I always had a smile on my face. I'd answer their questions, but I would make it my business to be positive and unemotional and responsive. And so we were talking about this earlier before we recorded. Many people characterize stuttering, for example, as their superpower.
I was going to just frame this for 1 sec. Something you said really hit me. You said you never thought of it that you had a speech impediment. And I just was going to think, like, whether you think you have a speech impediment or you don't think you have a speech impediment, you're right.
Right.
You might have a difference in the way
Yes,
you speak,
right.
but whether it's an impediment or not, yeah, it might be, or it might not be. It doesn't have to be.
Right. Well, it's like anything else. People are afraid, to get in front of a group of people to, make any sort of presentation.
So whether you think you have a speech impediment or you think you don't have a speech impediment, you're right. We were talking about that. So I think it's quite poignant how you don't have an invisible stutter. And I imagine it doesn't hide itself when you're in front of Congress.
It's
there.
so yes,
It's there.
always there, but the severity
Yeah.
varies. For example, when I walked in here, my flow was much better,
Much more flow.
right, than it is more flow.
And now you're stuttering better,
Excellent. Yeah, but
stronger.
it doesn't matter to me.
It is what it is.
It doesn't matter to me.
But that's amazing.
I'm who I am, and anybody who has an issue with this, I'd use the word.
I'll finish that. If they have an issue with this,
Well, I don't want to use the word I was going to use.
keep it clean.
Yeah, but I was going to use the word you would imagine, and I use that word quite often.
We try to keep this safe for children.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
all.
Which way I'm not.
But it's very emphatic.
You-
we don't want to
use that
take away
word.
the oomph.
It's I don't want you in my life.
Yeah. Yes.
I only surround myself with positive individuals who want to be around me, and if you have an issue with anything, whether it's who I am, my personality, whatever the issue is, because my personality is out there. I mean, I express my feelings. And many people, are taken aback.
Yeah. And you've achieved great success at the same time, meaning there's something
Yes.
very attractive and refreshing to see people who are just real. So you being real means some people are going to be attracted to what you bring. And if someone has an issue with it, which there will be people, they can go, Now, I'm going to reveal something, just a little tangent, but we talked about maybe going there. This is more on me than on you. Prior to October 7th, 2023, I always wore a yarmulke, but I always tried to neutralize and not put it front and center. And I tried not to, on the one hand, not to mask who I am, but on the other hand, I tried not to be too Jewy. I tried not to be in any way that could be prickly or for somebody that just doesn't sit well with that. And since October 7th, something that I'm borrowing from your playbook, because it's not part of my nature. It's not part of how I roll. And it would be the same if I had a stutter. And that's why I'm fascinated, is it took something like October 7th to shake me up to say, I'm not going to hide. I'm not going to pretend to be somebody that I think everybody's going to like. It has to do with my Jewish identity, but also other things. I became much more real, much less filtered, much less thinking, how is this going to sit with people? Let me just do me. And as you said, and what I'm seeing is that people that are drawn to that are drawn to it even more. And people that are not, they probably weren't liking the vanilla ice cream version of me either. So, giving them who I really am is giving people more value. And it's also helping me identify like who this doesn't resonate with, who isn't, jamming with this. Okay. But I grew up and my temperament is much more sensitive. So I think, for example, if I grew up with your stutter, if I had your stutter, I ask myself, how would I operate?
Right.
And I think it's reasonable, beyond reasonable. It's pretty compelling that it would be something I would try to hide. I would be dodging words all the time. I certainly wouldn't go over to Bill Clinton and talk to him about how charismatic he is. I would be shaking in my boots and I'd be in the bathroom,
Right.
So I think for the people that have that temperament like myself, and there are some people out there, what gives you that steel strength? And like we talked before about the look, when you speak and words don't come out unscheduled the way people expect, they might give you that quizzical look, or I don't know
all
how
the
you.
time.
So
My whole life.
What do you get from people, and how do you
In
not?
the restaurant.
Why does it affect some people and not affect you?
Evening we went out to eat. I ordered, and the waiter had the look.
The look.
Yeah. So
He didn't get a good tip.
no, he deserves a good tip because the service was excellent.
He deserves a good
But
tip.
he got the words.
But you don't
from
deserve the look.
Me, but he got the words from me about
Yes.
the look.
That's what I want to hear. So what'd you
Yeah.
tell him? What'd you tell him?
I'm not going to repeat the words, but
So you told him off and gave him a good
Yes.
tip for the service.
yes, one thing has nothing to do with the other.
I think a lot of people be surprised
And
by that.
once I expressed my feelings about that, his attitude entirely changed.
How so?
Much more accommodating and patient and friendlier. And frankly, I was that way in the schoolyard. I confronted anyone who would say or react in a way that I didn't think was appropriate.
Let's just talk professional workspaces. It could be stuttering. It could be
anything.
sexual harassment. It could be someone's stature, their color of their skin. What do you recommend for people how to speak up for themselves when they're not in a place of strength or privilege? A person who stutters, or a person who.
It's hard because many people will just back off and accept that bullying. I was never willing to back off. It's something I was born with.
In the restaurant, it worked out. In the schoolyard, it sounds like it mostly worked out.
Or I beat the hell out of the person.
Yeah. Sometimes there are invisible costs or a tax that we pay. For some people, they pay the tax and the cost. It's not worth saying it. I don't want to make a ruckus. I don't want to make a scene. I'll pay the tax of not saying what needs to be said. But people need to be aware there's a tax you're paying. There's a cost for not speaking up. On the flip side, if you kind of like let people know what's up, sometimes there might be a cost to that.
Yeah.
Similarly with preparation, you use the word preparation. I'm wondering.
I'm willing to bear the cost.
You're willing to pay that price, yeah.
Yes.
Because why? What's the balance sheet?
Because it makes me feel better.
The upside outweighs.
I deserve,
That's so interesting.
as much respect as anyone else.
Really?
More so.
Why?
Why? Because I'm willing to be out there. I'm not hiding behind a rock.
But listen, like, I'm just gonna take the other side.
Yeah. No.
You work where? You work on Wall Street.
Yeah.
The office is on Wall Street, New York City. Things move quick. People talk quick. They don't have a lot of time.
I grew up here.
Listen, speed up, buddy. I don't have all day. Like, very
No one
nice in your personal life and in the schoolyard
that
and
to
with the
me.
waiter, but like, let's go, Buster. Like, we don't have all day to listen to you, Mark. Like, we got another hearing coming up. How do you deal with that? Because that's out there, no?
You invited me to testify. I'm here because I've been invited because I make a major contribution. It's the price that you pay by being a little more patient than you might otherwise be. It's funny though, when I mentioned friends and my children, my sons, and my romantic partner.
What a great title.
That I was, we laugh about it. That I was doing this podcast about the stuttering.
It's not about stuttering.
Right, but it.
Okay.
Right. The response by everyone was, but you don't stutter. You don't have any issues. Why would they want to speak with you about it?
So why did you come uptown to record this? Why did you want to do this?
Well, if I can be an inspiration to even one individual, it's worth it. I'm much more fluid. I'm much more prepared, if you will. I walk through exactly what will.
That's the
happen.
other part I want to ask you. What would you? I was going to ask the Goldilocks effect on preparation, because is there such a thing as too little preparation? For sure. Is there also something as too much preparation?
Oh,
Do you
absolutely.
ever feel like you're stifled by it? And as you're saying now, like you're always trying to be prepared, how to navigate. Does that have a cost? Or is there a cost to being over prepared? Or
I wouldn't characterize it as over prepared, but when I make a speech or a presentation, and it's most often before attorneys, government leaders, top accountants in the world, and these people all follow me on social media for my insights. So I have the reputation, but I play out in my mind exactly the way I want this to play out. So I don't put up slides with a lot of words on them, even though I talk about extremely complex issues. When I'm up there, first thing I put up is a picture, whether it's a bird or a masterpiece, Van Gogh or Rembrandt or something. And I tell the audience, I don't want you reading my slides. I'm going to email all the slides to you. I want you to look at me. I'm going to walk around, ask you questions, focus on me and my words, because that's all that matters. It's why you're investing all this money and time in being here. Just listen to me. Not to read with slide that I'm going to email you anyway.
That has nothing to do with stuttering. That's a good tip for anyone presenting. Don't put your whole speech doesn't need to be on the slides. So speaking of listening to your
Anything
words,
on my slides.
I'm with
I
you.
put a bird.
I don't even like slides. I hate slides.
Yeah.
But if that's what the culture is and that's what they need, I'll put some slides together. I did it this past Sunday.
I've never done it. Well, I used to when I was a kid, beginning at PricewaterhouseCoopers, but not for decades.
I want to read something you wrote and then give you a chance to respond to that. These are some of the most beautiful words, very moving.
Thank you.
Sit back and listen to this. Fear stays. It changes but does not leave. We face it daily. Some mornings it weighs heavier than others. The thing that causes dread, a telephone, a podium, a crowded room, sits patient, knowing, but we step forward anyway, again and again, not because the fear vanishes, but because we learn to carry it, even embrace it. Like grief, it cannot be erased, only carried differently as the years pass. The weight remains, but the shoulders grow stronger. Those who love us see not the pauses, but the persistence. Colleagues value not smooth words, but true ones. The fear becomes like an old injury. It aches before storms, but no longer prevents the journey. We step into uncomfortable spaces now without waiting for courage. We've learned that courage comes in stepping. The fear remains always, but it no longer decides where we go. These words by Mark are on our blog. Very proud to share them and to share this conversation. So glad that you joined us. Do you have a parting thought, something that you would want to leave the listener with that you didn't already get a chance to share?
One guiding principle I've always had in my life, whether it's personal or professional, is put yourself in uncomfortable situations, because that's the only way one will grow. And in writing those words, that was really my message. It's always hard for me. Appearing here is not, easy. It's
1 to 10, 10 being the
It's
most
an effort.
comfortable, 1 being excruciating. Where would you gauge coming in today?
it's not excruciating by any means.
I'm just trying to gauge it. 1 to 10, where would you put it?
Well, there's
Because on the outside,
always
you
the
look like a 10.
fear.
On the outside, it looks like a 10. What's it like on inside for Mark?
10 meaning the most.
10 is the most comfortable. I always like 10 being the best,
Oh, yeah.
most desirable.
Well, I'm extremely comfortable.
Okay.
But there is that fear, if you will, which I mentioned. It's always with me, always will be, but it will never hold me back from.
Mark, thank you so much.
Thank you
Thanks
for
for
having
taking-
me.
Thanks for
It's a
getting
pleasure to meet
uncomfortable
you.
and having this conversation. Well worth it for us.
I'm very comfortable, and you have made it extremely comfortable.
Takes 2 to tango. I wouldn't have anyone
Thank
to
you.
talk to if you didn't come. Thanks.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this episode. If you did, share it with a friend. And if you want to get more tips and follow us for more insights, check out transcendingx.com/email. And remember, keep talking.